In this video, I want to talk about union dues, why we pay them, what they go towards, hopefully clear up some misconceptions that people may have about them. All right, so there was actually a time when union dues had to be collected by donation, and members of the union would literally stand outside of a workplace with a boot or a hat, and they would ask people as they came to work to contribute to the union. And you can imagine that this wasn't very successful. A lot of people felt that they didn't need to contribute for whatever reason, and this caused a freeloader problem because you had a lot of people who were benefiting from the work that the union was doing, but they were refusing to contribute financially to the union. And this was making the unions very financially unstable. Most importantly, it was preventing them from having adequate strike funds to really gain leverage at the bargaining table. However, the employers really liked this because when the unions were struggling to collect dues, this would weaken their position. Or in other words, it would make it difficult for unions to obtain power, right? And so this issue of collecting union dues was actually solved in 1946. Canadian Supreme Court Justice Ivan Rand was making an arbitration decision to end the Ford strike of 1946. And one of the main issues of this strike was the union wanted the Ford factory to be a closed shop. Or in other words, they wanted everyone within the shop to have to join the union and be part of the union and pay dues. Ford didn't want this. They wanted an open shop. They want people to have the choice if they join the union or if they pay dues. Ivan Rand came up with the Rand formula in his arbitration decision. And what this formula states is that collecting union dues is mandatory. So in other words, the employer will deduct the union dues from all of the employees' paychecks when those employees are benefiting from the same collective agreement, and then they will give those union dues to the union. But as a compromise, he said that joining the union would be optional. So even though the dues are being collected from every worker so that there was no more freeloaders, the decision to actually join the union is optional. And that's why you'll notice from the moment you were hired with AHS, union dues were deducted from your paycheck. But that didn't make you a member of HSAA. And in order to be a member, you have to actually go to the website and sign up and become a member. So if you haven't done that yet, make sure you go do it. It gives you voting privileges. It gives you the ability to attend convention, attend workshops, to run for elected positions, whether it's in the local union executive, the board of directors. But that's kind of a little bit of the history about union dues and how we got to where we are today. And it should really tell you just how important they are when the employer back in the day, you think about Ford in 1946, they wanted to make it difficult for unions to collect union dues. And that's because they knew that that would weaken the position of unions. They knew it was union busting at the end of the day. And so it's really important to, in that context, understand why we all have the responsibility to pay into our union because we all benefit from the gains that we get through the collective agreement. It can suck seeing money get deducted from your paycheck, but it's important to remember that the benefits we get from being part of a strong union far outweigh the individual costs of union dues. In HSAA, our union dues are 1.4% of our gross wages, and they're also tax deductible. So this means that you'll receive a portion of your union dues back in the form of a tax refund when you file your tax return each year. Always remember, being part of a union isn't free. That's because the union is comprised of the workers, and us, the workers, have to fund it. Okay? And we all must collectively share that responsibility to ensure our union's financial stability. So as I've mentioned in previous videos, unions are comprised of workers. Workers 100% make up the union and make it sustainable. And so to do that, the workers have to fund the union themselves. And that's why we pay union dues, because we can't expect anybody else to ensure the financial stability of our union. A lot of the things that we pay union dues for, you may not even realize that they're there, but some of the things that they go towards, for example, are like our labor relations officers who assist our members with various union business. They also go towards funding education opportunities for our members, sponsoring them to go to conferences, to attend courses and seminars. We also pay dues to larger organizations such as the Alberta Federation of Labor and the Canadian Labour Congress, who work to advance our interests on both local and national levels. They help amplify our voice to a level that we can't do on our own. The dues that we pay, they also pay for communications to our members and to the public through the forms of advertising, email communications. This keeps our members and the public informed about the work that we're doing and helps to build trust with our communities. Our union dues pay for grievances. These can often involve costly lawyer fees. And they also go into our strike fund to make sure that we can support our members in case of a strike. And the strike fund is actually a really important part of our union dues because job action or our ability to withhold our labor is our greatest weapon as workers. And that's what gives us leverage at the bargaining table. It's knowing that job action is always a possibility is what gets the employer to listen to us. In other words, that's what gives us power. And the only way that we have a legitimate threat of job action is if we have a strike fund that can sustain that job action for a good period of time. And there are nuances to this, and I'll hopefully get to it in another video because as paramedics, we're considered essential, so we're not allowed to strike. But our brothers and sisters in HSAA and some of our other positions, they are allowed to strike. And there could come the day when members of HSAA are striking, and we need to be able to support them. And I'll hopefully talk about that in another video. But the strike fund is really important. That's what really strikes fear into the hearts of our employers and gets them to listen to us. Our union also has a lot of bursaries and education funds available to members and their families. You can use this to help fund if you go back to school, either part-time or full-time. And all of our local units also receive an allowance every year to spend on their platoons. So for ourselves in EMS, we've had platoons spend that money on Christmas parties or other goods throughout the year. At the end of the day, union dues are collected to ensure the financial stability of our union. And that's what's really important because the financial stability is what gives us power.